I'm on the plane and I'm getting sicker and sicker and sicker. And sometimes when you're withdrawing from opiates, you come in your pants or you come really fast. It's interesting. So I'm sitting on the plane, like, so the water's coming out of my eyes because that's what happens, and my mouth is watering and I'm sweating and I'm like, flu symptoms, sick, and I'm sleeping and I had a wet dream next to some lady and whoever else was sitting next to me, full cum in my pants. Guess what I did after that? My unemployment hit right when I got off of the plane. And I was, of course, 4 hours ago in Denver, I committed that I was not going to do heroin anymore. I was already sick. But when my unemployment hit, I got in a yellow cab right out of the airport, went to the projects, copped some more dope. That was what my life was like, bruh. Isn't it amazing? Wild. I don't tell these stories in detail because it's like, why? You know what I mean? Like, why tell them? But I'm doing it right now because it provides perspective. So you hear me and like you hear me talking about the books that I'm talking about, or think concepts of fucking spirituality and meditation, all this shit. That's not who I am. That is not the person I am. I'm go to prison guy. I'm drug addict guy, smoke cigarettes off the floor guy. So that's the perspective I'm coming from. Now that we've done that, what time is it? That's like 15 minutes? 20 minutes. Okay. This is going to go super perfect. This is today's topic. I got a little poem here. Guys and I set an intention every year. So for me, I talked about it. It was spiritual growth, and that happened, and emotional health, and that happened. And this year is an abundance, but like the abundance. How many podcasts are about abundance? I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it right now. It's one of those trigger words. But when I say abundance, I'm not talking about money. Money is, of course, included in there because I do deserve to be compensated for the skills and abilities that I have. So does Matt. So do you. So does everybody else. Everybody deserves to be compensated rightfully for their skills and their knowledge and their experience and their professional background. So I deserve to be compensated. I deserve abundance. I had this poor person's mentality that because of the story I just told you, I didn't deserve to have money because I was like paying back karmic consequences, right? Like I didn't deserve to have a happy relationship. I didn't deserve a good life because of the life that I lived before, which I'm finding is not true. And even if those karmic consequences are true, I'm choosing to no longer participate in the fucked up, shitty karmic consequences. I deserve a good life, which saying what I deserve, got to be careful of that. Throwback to last year's podcast, what you deserve is sometimes bullshit, right? But anyway, I heard someone say about solutions. He said, it's amazing how much resistance we have to change and to growth compared to the amount of relief you will feel when you're in a solution. And that I wrote that down in a meeting. I was like, that's amazing because like we will allow ourselves to feel immense amounts of pain, knowing that there's some potential solution on the other end. I'm depressed, and all you could do is pick up a phone and you could do telehealth. You could do so many different forms of therapy. There's apps that'll find BetterHelp, that'll find you a therapist all over the world, all over the country. And it's just this little line that you just have to step over and you can find relief. Or like you can go to your doctor and say, hey doc, I'm something's off balance. I need my blood work done. I need to talk to somebody. And your doctor can refer you. Or you're struggling with your drinking and all you got to do is walk into a room of Alcoholics Anonymous or walk into a room of NA or CA or HA or whatever A you want to go to. You could walk in that room and say, hey, I need help. All you got to do is step in the door. You know, even if you're in recovery, all you got to do is some steps. All you got to do is meditate. All you got is these little steps that we can take. These little steps that we can take. There's so much resistance to those steps, but the amount of relief you acquire on the other side surpasses the amount of resistance. But what is that resistance? So I want to tell you, you can feel better. How what my old sponsor would say to me, Eric, you could be as well as you want to be. How profound that is. She's like, you could be as healthy as you want to be. You know, you don't have to suffer, dude. You choosing to suffer. Pain is life, but you don't have to suffer. You can be as well as you want to be. Get to work. You can grow. You can improve. Just stop resisting. Stop. You know, what's stopping you from your growth? Is it pride? And we're gonna get into this. We're gonna break this down into two things. Is it pride in the sense that I'm too proud to ask for help? Or is it the pride that says I'm okay? I'm just having a hard time. I'm tough. I can deal. Or pride saying I could do this on my own or whatever. Is it that pride, that ego that we're talking about? That enemy of yours, that ego is your enemy? Still reading that, Ryan Holiday. Such a good book. Is it that pride stopping you from getting that help? Or is it the pride in reverse that says I'm the worst? I'm not worth it. I'm not worth the help. I'm sick. I'm broken. I'm damaged. I got too much baggage. That pride in reverse that stops you from just stepping over that line and making a change in your life. What are we doing on time? Perfect. We're wrapping it up. So is it that pride? Is that pride that tells you that you're fine? Or is that pride in reverse, you know, that tells you that you're the worst, that you don't deserve it? You know, both come from self-centeredness. That's high-level kung fu shit.
4 adults, 3 bottles of wine. And, you know, it was a heavy moment. So me and my friend, we decided to go onto his deck, and we had a conversation. And he had been going through some things. I was going through some things, and we were, you know, that misty rain kind of happened again. So it was like, you know, let's take a ride. He just bought a new 550 Benz. So we walk into the carport, get in the car, backs out, runs it back in, gets a cigar. He pulls out the ladies and the kids. They walk out. I don't know why black folks do it. Like everybody stand outside when people drive the car, right? I don't know why we do that, but we do, right? It's universal. But we drive down the driveway, makes a right turn, and instantly, you know, life changed at that moment. And you know, the car was without a driver. He was without a driver, and we hit the tree, right? And I was thinking prior to that, right? And I don't think people think about your expiration date, right? And in that moment, it was sometimes when I think about it, right, it takes me back. Yeah. Right. I don't know. It's something about your energy, right? Because normally when I tell a story, it's, you know, I got it, right? But it's just sometimes it just makes me thankful about, you know, still being here. And, you know, the first thing back to the discipline and my mom, you know, when I was in the car, the first thing that came to my mind was, as I rolled back, you know, I started speaking to God and said, Lord, I guess I'm not going to see my family anymore, right? Because you're dealing with the mortality issue of it. There's a car going without a driver in excess of 75 miles an hour. Second thing was, Lord, I guess I'm going to see you soon, right? Because at this point, I realized that this is not going to end well. Like, no way. And then the third thing, I got mad with God.
Yeah.
Because, like, I didn't want to die. right? And I didn't want to die because I was afraid of death, because we're not taught that, right? I was afraid of dying because I hadn't prepared all the people in my life for my death.
One thing I can do to make it right is to be a good father. One thing I can do to make it right is the work that I do. So the work that I do is not just my job. It's not just what pays the bills. The work that I do is a living amends every day with every client, with every person, to be of service to somebody else. I have alcoholics in and out of my house, right before this podcast, so I can keep my soul clean. I want a clean soul. I want peace. I want peace more than I want anything else. I want peace more than I want money. I want peace more than I want you to even listen to this. There was only a small percentage of people who came there to drink, and they came early. The people who came there to drink, they're not the hardcore people. It got real weird. It got real weird at night, dude. It got real lurky. At night. But so picture Eric wide-eyed, jaw fucking flying back and forth. That fucking ecstasy, cocaine jaw. I'm on ketamine, so we're wobbling around. On ketamine, you feel like you need a walking stick to walk on flat surfaces. Your equilibrium's off. Your vestibular system is fired up. Your fucking endorphins are pumping. Your dopamine is spiked to an unhealthy, ungodly level. And this music is blasting. These lights are going. And you would do this until 10 in the morning. You would do this till 10 in the morning, just dancing. Like it was like the 70s. It was like grooving. And you'd be dancing in these circles and you'd be making out with people. It was like the way I can remember the feeling, but I can really remember the montage of images because it was so striking. And then you leave there at 10 a.m. in a soaking wet wife beater. Even in the winter, in a soaking wet wife beater. We would drive because to me, and this was my logic, because I never drove sober, because I started using drugs so young. I got my license and I was on drugs, and I drove on drugs until my license was revoked. Clearly, I shouldn't have been driving because my license, they said, hey, we're not going to only suspend your license, we're going to revoke it. And you can get it back one day. And it took me 2 years. My license was revoked for 2 years. Never got a DUI though. Never got a DUI because my logic was I can drive on drugs, ecstasy particularly, and coke particularly, and I could not drive drunk because drunk you're slurring, but on ecstasy you're shiny. So like when I've been pulled over, exorbitant amounts of times on ecstasy and be like, hey, how you doing, officer? Doing good? Yeah, good to see you. Hope you're safe tonight. Just leaving the club. I'm the designated driver, not drinking. A few people drink in the back, but we're good. We're heading home now. We're getting out of town. But thank you for stopping us, checking up on us. Appreciate it. And that was like ecstasy put you on. You were on, and I was sharp. So I get pulled over all the time. Anyway, we're leaving the club, soaking wet, wife beater. Even in the winter, your temperature's so elevated. You're chewing, your jaw's going crazy. You're leaving there, and everybody wore sunglasses. You got to wear sunglasses in a club like this because your eyes look crazy. Your eyes look fucking crazy. They're all rolling in the back of your head. You look like a fucking animal. It's like, that's why I say it gets creepy and you're a gargoyle, dude. It's just eyes rolling around, jaw moving, just the facial reactions. And I'm already very I have a very active face or very expressive face. So I'm already opening my eyes, closing my eyes when I talk right now. But imagine me just like so wild. Anyway, we're leaving at 10 a.m. We're going on a Saturday. I didn't go Friday nights. Some people go Thursday, Friday, Saturday. That wasn't my jam. We would go Saturday nights to Pacha. And you leave at 10 a.m. on a Sunday and people are going to church. And we would call Pacha church because you'd have these spiritual, and this is why the God concept has never, ever, ever been a question to me, because I have felt God in synthetic form, in psychedelic form, in union with other human beings, with plant medicine. I've experienced God on a number of different planes, and I've experienced God stone cold sober. So to me, I got to recovery with like, yeah, God's real. And for me, we'll talk about how my inception of God. I knew we were gonna make some magic happen. Like we found something to talk about.
Get your next design, man. Work on something else in your business.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Or do something that brings about your creativity, whether it's writing, reading, you know, different things, because it doesn't just have to be about the fashion. You can intertwine so many other things into your art, you
Definitely.
know? So I feel like as long as you're doing things to keep your mind active and creative, I feel like you should have no problem. And even if you do, it won't last too long, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. It's being a student of life, you know, just watching life go by and watching life happen and experiencing life, keeping creative people around you. And he comes in spurts. That's why I podcast twice a week. I have a guest where that I don't have to be that creative. It's all about you. And then one day a week I experience life and share that experience. So it comes in spurts, but I think just go, you know, living life is a huge inspiration. As well as having those creative people around you.
Definitely. Life, if you got to pay attention though, you can't just let life pass you by. But if you pay attention, life
right
is
here, you
step out.
Man.
Yeah, it has all the answers you need, man. Just go out there and just, you know, pay attention, and you'll be surprised as to what you come up with, man. But you just got to stay active, you know.
The disease of me, the disease of the I. And I was talking about this yesterday, speaking about meditation. And when I get into the void, if you meditate or if you want to learn about meditation, you can find yourself in this void space where it's open. It's like you're in the universe. And in that universe, that's where I've been able to remove the idea of me from myself and like who I think I am. So he talks about this disease of me. And there's a Neil deGrasse Tyson quote. I know I'm small, but I also know that I'm big. I'm big because I'm connected to the universe. The universe is absolutely a part of me, and the universe is connected to me. We just can't forget which is bigger and which has been here longer. It's bars, you know. So this identity with me is understanding like, yes, I am Eric. I am Eric, you know, flowing through the universe. I'm Eric flowing through in and out of different states of consciousness. I'm flowing through in and out of different stages of development. And I'm big, and I do things that are big, and I have a presence that is big. Like I said, I'm connected to the world around me, but also I'm insignificant. I'm nobody. And when you get in that void in the meditation, you realize I'm nobody. I'm just an idea. I'm just an idea of who I am. Wearing these crystals, wearing these Air Maxes with blonde hair. This is my avatar. And through meditation, I'm able to separate myself from this avatar and go into a deeper place.
So for healthy masculinity for me is like someone who sees how hard I work and how much I give and who I give to, that they want to make my life better.
Okay, let me turn this question over. So that's how healthy masculinity interfaces with you. Mm-hmm. But observing healthy masculinity, what do you see in a healthy masculine man?
Someone who is vulnerable, who's honest with themselves, who leans into difficult conversations without judgment. Healthy masculinity allows for space and supports, right? So I also think when I think of masculinity and femininity, it's not just like male, female bodies, right? And it's not just a gender performance either, right? Like, oh, who's the masculine and who's the feminine? I do think because I do inner healing and spiritual work, right? I believe in the divine feminine and the divine masculine, right? And that we carry, each of us carry these within ourselves, right? The divine feminine and the divine masculine, right? Like it's not that I'm just aligned with the divine feminine. And for most of my life, I lived in a hyper masculine state. Mm-hmm. So let me explain what that means a little bit. So our divine masculine is our ability to create, to produce, to put in work, to make shit happen, right? So when I think of a healthy masculinity, I think of someone who can make shit happen. When I think of the divine feminine, it's our ability to dance with our masculine energies, to receive, to align, to put out the intention, but not have to necessarily do the work to create that intention. Does that make sense?
I want emotional reciprocity. I want emotional reciprocity and sexual reciprocity. You know, like I want you to fuck me, and I want a healthy energy exchange. A healthy energy exchange, and not only in sexual relationships, but in friendships. You know, I think like we have friendships and relationships contingent on like nonsense. You know, and for so long and this is something that is my like I have a team who, you know, Matt is part of the content creation team. I have Mike Dunn, who's part of the business strategy. I have C Squared, that's part of the marketing strategy. I have Brandy, who runs the Instagram. I have a team of people. I have a team of people. And Mike Dunn said something very powerful. He said, Eric, don't make yourself so fucking available. You know, and my need to be liked, my need for validation makes it so I'm like, hey, come hang out. Hey, be my friend. I just want to be liked and want to be affirmed so much that I sacrifice my own power for companionship, lacking emotional and emotional reciprocity, and this is a part of the sex addiction as well. You know, just making yourself too available, making myself too accessible, and that's gone. No more. And the idea of healthy masculinity is so subjective. That's why I'm having a number of people on here. We were just speaking about that because, like, some women like I have a friend of mine who is with a guy who abuses her, and he's rich, and she just is rich and has a life that she, you know, enjoys. Mm-hmm. That type of masculinity is something that she enjoys, right? Mm-hmm. And then there's a certain type of masculinity that men feel confident, where we feel confident, and that's subjective to each individual man. So it's such, this topic is so nebulous. It's such an ethereal topic.
Sure.
So all these different perspectives, but one thing that you talked about spoke about in your videos was invasive masculinity. So let's just start a conversation about that, a dialogue about that. Explain what you mean by invasive masculinity.
Invasive masculinity. So, you know, I like to take terms, and like, you know, toxic masculinity is one that, you know, that's been thrown out there a lot. But, you know, to me, when I really look at it, it's also a component of it sometimes that's just invasive. It's and it's very can be insidious sometimes, like we don't even realize that it's happening. And just for clarity of those tuning in, you already kind of alluded to it, is like when we talk about masculine and feminine, we're talking about energies, not necessarily about gender. So this is something that can be expressed in all the different beautiful ways that human beings show up, binary, non-binary, all of that, you know, so we're talking about energies. But when we talk about the energy that's invasive, it can be something as simple as like, I'm in the grocery store and you're playing an advertisement to me and I didn't ask for that.
Yeah.
And when we start looking at it like that, it's like, oh shit, we live in an invasive culture.
We're being bombarded. Yeah.
All the time, 24/7, where there's, and if it would be almost tantamount to someone just sticking a dick in your face all the time. Yeah. It's like, we wouldn't want that. This is still on the same scale. If I'm just pumping my gas and you're telling me about stuff that I didn't ask you about, like, you're invading my space right now.
Yeah.
So that's the culture we live in.
Yeah. This will be the point of the podcast. And we've done so many podcasts on duality. We speak about it. But if you ask me how I'm doing, I love my life. I'm doing never better than I've done before. If you ask me how I'm doing, we got to leave the lo-fi in, because that breathe right there was perfect. If you ask me how I'm doing, it's never better. But I'm going through something. So you could be going through some of the hardest things that you can go through. You could be going through divorce. You could be going through a depression. You could be broke and still be doing great. Because your circumstances are not your identity. Your circumstances are not your identity. You know, life is both. Life is hard. Life is joy. It's a duality, baby. You know? And life's working in your favor, as I've said before. So all the things that are happening right now are not happening to me. They're happening for me. They're happening for her. This is happening for her. You know, she needed this, you know. This is what she needed. And God does for us what we can't do for ourselves. This is what I needed. Alhamdulillah. This is what I needed. You know, I needed to grieve. I haven't grieved. I lost so many friends. I've never grieved. Never shed a tear. I did actually when Chris died, I shed a tear, but I was always so high that they weren't like, I didn't really weep. I just cried out of frustration. I did fucking oxys at his funeral, man. I couldn't stop. But yeah, that duality. We're going to talk a little bit about duality again, because that podcast was from last year. And if we got new listeners, I want you to hear what we talk about. But, you know, you can be doing good and hurting at the same time. You could be dealing with it and never better. But that translates everywhere. That translates everywhere, you know. You can be a great guy. I know a lot of guys who are great guys. I know a lot of gals who are great gals. But they could be evil. They could be malicious. They could be cynical. They could be all those things. But they're great. But they're still great. You know, you can be everything. And you're allowed to be everything. That was the point of the podcast we did last year. This is going to be a short one. We'll keep it at 30. But that was the point of the podcast we did last year, is that you're allowed to be. You're allowed to do both. And don't let anybody tell you can't do both. You know, you're not supposed to be perfect all the time. You're not supposed to be awesome all the time. You know, I can meditate into tears and have that deep of an experience of peace where I can weep. More so recently because I'm grieving, but meditate to the point of tears. So I have those moments where I'm at peace enough to break down emotionally, and to break through emotionally as opposed to break down. But then I have parts of myself that I think everybody fucking hates me. You know, I think and I have that part, that whisper in my head.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why I meditate.
All right.
That's why I meditate.
Yeah, man, I appreciate your vulnerability.
Yeah.
I think that's what attracted me most about your presence at the barbershop and your podcast. Because after Shofar did the meditation, it came out and you were like, had some tears.
Yeah.
And then on the podcast, you were really talking about, you know, what your heart was going through and your grief and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good thing for anybody to experience, but especially for Black men to see that sort of reflection.
It's about going deeper. It's really about going deeper inward. When you're going through, like, as I shared, I had some bars last week, and, you know, going through something, people go through things and they want to expel energy, which I am doing, and I'll get into in a second. But they want to expel energy and put energy somewhere else. They want to fuck somebody. They want to, you know, go crazy in the gym, or they want to spend money, or they want to eat bad food, or they want to shoot energy out into another direction. And I'm trying the converse. I'm trying to pull all of my energy in. So I'm not giving my soul away. I'm giving my soul away so much. Trying to be liked, trying to have just the validation of women, the validation of my partner. Breathe that out. But grieving your old self, let it go. Just let that shit go. Maybe other people don't have a hard time letting it go. Maybe other people don't have a hard time letting it go, but I know I did, and I know some people do. You know, and if you have a hard time letting it go, I'm gonna tell you to let it be over. Just let that part of your life be over. You know, be who you want to be. You know, a big part of my coaching and my mentorship is like, you design the life that you want. You design your life. You are the artist of your own life. There's suffering to get there. Like the life that I love right now, there was suffering to get here. But you design your life. Fuck, man. You design it. You know? So, you know, just be who you want to be, and be willing to go through everything you're going through to get the life you want. You know what I'm saying? Do you see a solution?
I do. You know, I think the whole world could use to tune in with more feminine energy, and that feminine energy strengthens the masculine in a positive way, and vice versa, because they are two sides of the same coin. If we oppress one, we inevitably dilute the other. And so, you know, they support each other. And I think our world has been very out of balance with the feminine. So I think cultivating our feminine side is really important, and not at the expense of the masculine, but in a way that supports it. And it kind of depends on, you know, where your struggle lies with masculinity. Another really healthy aspect of masculinity is having that fire, that drive, that ambition. But of course, keeping it in balance with the feminine nourishment and this sort of thing. But I really believe that the way that men work with their sexual energy is a huge piece of this. I think that men are equipped with this incredible, powerful, fiery sexual energy, and that it can feel really intense sometimes. It can feel like, you know, being given the keys to a really fast, high-powered car that you never learned how to drive. And unfortunately, we don't have great education for anyone around sexuality and relationship. But when you think of this masculine fiery energy, untamed fire burns down the world, whereas channeled fire fuels it and warms it and illuminates it. And so it's this beautiful force if it's properly channeled. But I really see, I see at the root of so many of the problems in this world, there is a disconnection around how to work with that immense power and integrity. And so whether that manifests as like rape of other people, of the planet, seeking power over others, not knowing how to work with this fire in a loving way, there's a disconnection from the heart a lot of times. So merging sex with heart and being able to have that deeper awareness and listening to how that energy is moving through you, I think is a really big piece of cultivating healthy masculinity.
But timestamp that. That was so good. That's gonna be a clip. But there's pain, and then there's like discomfort. You know, there's discomfort, and then suffering is that deep guttural. You know, deep guttural. I don't know how to describe it feeling wise. For me, suffer is the sorrow, the despair. Looking in the mirror and saying, I just can't. And it's been the greatest thing that ever happened to me. I see a lot of my friends. I moved a friend out here to get sober, and he is out using drugs again. He's only been here 2 weeks. He's out using drugs again. He didn't do it. He hasn't done enough suffering for him, you know. When I was using, and when I was drinking, and I was using, and it's not only the drinking and using, but when I was drinking and using, I had no friends. No one liked me. My relationships would fail. My family hated me. I had nothing when I came here. I had absolutely nothing. And the despair of living another day like the way I was living, the opportunity to live differently outweighed the despair that I was living in every day. It was terrible. It was terrible. It was terrible. When people would ask me, I just remember people would ask me, how you doing? And I'd say, I'm just existing. I was like a shell of a human, just kind of floating through the ether, you know. Did a lot of suffering. Then when I got sober, I did a lot of, I didn't do the things that you were supposed to do in recovery, you know. And that's a mistake that a lot of people make, no matter whether you do 12-step or whatever recovery program you do, whatever program you do, or whatever recovery system you do, there's action steps that, you know, we talk about that all the time. I can't even say that shit anymore. There's work to do, you know, and I didn't do any of that work. So I was a heroin addict. I was a heroin addict with no solution. So for 4 years, I was in agony. I was in absolute agony. My brain wouldn't shut off. My impulse, I was just running purely off impulse. So survival. And suffering. The suffering I did sober was worse than the suffering I did when I was using. At least when I was using, I could numb out. Right. At least I had a solution. I could just like, I hate my life, shoot some heroin and like go into oblivion. But when I got sober and I was suffering, I was jerking off a ton. I was fucking people, and I had the gym, you know, and that was the relief. That was all the relief I had. To the point where I tried to, you know, there was that suicide attempt that I referred to. But what all that sober suffering taught me was that I always need to be in action. I think for me, I'm able to heal heal my energy and heal my sickness. I'm better suited to lead my partner, any partner I have, my children, everybody, my community, my clients, everybody. You know, when I'm in a position of healing, and it's not cool anymore to be whack and like fucking to not cry, and like if dudes like that, if you still think that's cool, bro, to like be fucking shitty, you know what I mean? Like, you're out. Peace, bro. Like, we woke, and we're not talking about woke politically. We're talking about we're conscious, you know, conscious human being. It means I'm emotionally intelligent and spiritually aware. You know, I can't see the appeal of any man or woman who is not in the position not in the headspace to get better. I can't see that as attractive. You know what I mean? I'm looking at Matt because I'm having a conversation, but I can't see that being like appealing. Like, oh, that's just the way he is, or like, nah, man. Like, ugh. If the next gal I meet, if she's just like stagnant, man, you're out. I just can't. I've done too much work.
Finding ways for men and creating ways for men to come together and to be real and to be in that space again of empowered vulnerability, so that we can heal together and grow together and start thinking about things greater than ourselves. One of my biggest missions as a facilitator of men's work, and I think one of the most important things about the new men's work movement, is awareness of impact. Is like, we as men have got to be aware of our impact and how we take up space.
Definitely.
It's so important.
That's so well put.
Yeah.
That's so well put. I think we underplay that, especially with single mother households.
Oh, yeah.
And there's the idea of toxic masculinity. It's men almost, you know, aren't we're not doing the empowerment work in our impact, and understanding that there's a level of divine masculinity in leadership, and in vulnerability that it's a big responsibility that I feel like many of us aren't taking on. I know I didn't take it on in my 20s.
I did.
I know, like, I have a child, and I just was not able to show up as a strong man. I just was not able to. And I told myself I'm going to dedicate my 30s to really being honest with myself, honest about what experiences I've had, tell the truth. So I'm all about that powerful vulnerability. It seems like there's no other way to go. It seems like that's my only option.
Yeah,
is to, like,
absolutely.
just be free.
Absolutely.
I remember I went and got a bottle of Southern Comfort
Oof.
and a couple of 40s of King Cobra.
Oh man.
And I remember I was drinking the first one on my way home, thinking this probably isn't such a good idea.
Yeah.
But there's nothing I could do.
Yeah.
Like it was going. It was bigger than I was. I knew. I mean, I said it to myself, like, this is not a good idea. Well, I ended up getting into a fight that night. I ended up running from the cops. And I hid over there in between some orange groves, hiding from the cops while I was nursing that bottle of Southern Comfort.
Yeah.
And I was trying to game plan, like, what's the next move?
Yeah.
And man, I couldn't go to her house because she got a new boyfriend. So I was like, fuck, and they live together, so I couldn't do that. I was going through like all my friends, and I just kind of burned every bridge.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I'm just gonna go off myself.
Wow.
And so I had my little car, and I was gonna drive it up towards Big Bear and just drive off a cliff somewhere.
Yeah.
And I was putting the last bit of money I had in my gas tank.
Wow.
And as I was doing that, I looked over and I saw an AA club.
Yeah.
And as I had mentioned, I just got out of jail. So I was very spiritual.
Spiritual as fuck.
Anybody who's been to jail knows it's a spiritual place. I mean, there's more prayer in jail than there's in
Exactly.
church. Like, people reading the Bible all over the place. So I didn't really have an issue with the God thing.
Word.
Never really did. And I was just kind of like, okay, if this is the path I'm supposed to be on, then I knew what it was, because I got introduced to the program, to the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous and things like that, those 12-step programs, when I was 14 years old.
Wow.
So
you always knew it was there.
Yeah, I got brought here on a court card.
Oh, yeah.
And and I remember, like, at that time, so I tell the story sometimes in meetings. So I was 14 years old, and I had this little court card, and I was this little skater punk, dude.
Yeah.
Wife beater, dickies, sagging and shaved head, like, just like this little Southern California punk. Like, that's what I did.
Yeah.
And I remember I was going to this meeting, and it was down in this church basement. This is back when they used to smoke in meetings. Meetings would get so smoky, dude. Like, I wouldn't be able to see your face, like, as close as we're sitting. And there's this guy after the meeting, old guy. He's probably like my age now.
Yeah.
I was 14.
Old guy.
I mean, he might have been younger than me now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He might have been like in his 30s. I mean, he's an old dude.
Yeah.
And he's like, he looks at me, he goes, "You're young." And I look at him, I go, "You're old." And he started laughing.
Yeah.
And he's like, dude, he's like, "Do you even want to stop, like, whatever you're doing, drinking, drugs, whatever?" I'm like, "No."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Well, look, we're not here to hold you hostage.
Yeah.
Give me your card. I'll sign it. You can go kick rocks and do whatever you want."
Yeah.
And so I did.
Yeah.
I was like, right on. This old dude's cool.
He gets
He gets it. And so I kind of, I knew what was going on as far as that went. What I didn't know is it was the trick.
Yeah.
Because at those AA clubs, there's always a meeting about to start.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So when I said that prayer, it's like a setup. You know what I mean? It's like,
always a meeting.
There's always a meeting about to start. Because they know there's people saying that prayer all over the place.
Yeah.
So I go in, I sit in the meeting, and this little lady's sharing, and she looks like a country clubber type. I didn't really think much, and just thought, I tried a few times here and there throughout that period. I came in maybe once, like 24. Hung out for a little while, a few times throughout my life. I'd pop in because I needed to stop.
Yeah.
And and I thought, okay, I'm just gonna sit here for like 10 minutes and leave.
Yeah.
And the words that came out of her mouth changed my life to this day.
Yeah.
This is probably the most important words I've ever heard in my life. Because if it wasn't for these words, I probably wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
There's probably nothing else that anybody could have said. But she said, I drank until I wanted to die. And that's my long, boring war story.
Yeah.
And I was there at that point, at that moment.
Yeah.
And I just broke down, man. It just got me.
Yeah.
So that's how I ended up in the room.
There you go. I think if we can just talk about God this whole podcast.
I would love that, because God has been a source of my pain and agony, and also my greatest source of strength. The fact that I'm even sitting here in front of you today, the person that I am today is the most spiritual version of myself I've ever been.
Say you're a spiritual person, it's the humility that comes along with living that life that I want to have. And that's, I said to him, I said, spirituality is Ram Dass rubbing the Maharaji's feet. Spirituality is the Buddha relinquishing all material items. Spirituality is Jesus anointing and praying over the feet of the sick. Spirituality is Ram Dass sitting next to the bed of the dying. Spirituality is fasting for Ramadan and depriving yourself of sustenance from sunup to sundown. Spirituality is a bend of the knee, saying that I am not great. I'm not the greatest thing. Saying I am enlightened. Does that sound very spiritual to you, Matt? I'm enlightened. Don't you know what I've seen? Oh, I've said you've seen nothing, my friend. You must have missed the boat. But he's a young cat. He's a young kid. But it ruined my, for someone, I don't know if I'm humble or not. I don't know if I'm humble or not. I think I am. I think I'm humble, man. I don't think I'm the man, that's for sure. I don't think I'm the man. And when I start to think I'm the man, I am quickly understand that I am not the man. Quickly. You know what I mean? That's groovy, bitch. Hey. As soon as I start to think I'm the man, I quickly understand that I'm not the man. So for me, humility is a great, like, one of my go-to virtues. It's what I strive for every day, to be more humble. Doesn't always work, right? But that's what that's the race I'm running. That's what I'm chasing, humility. That's why I do combo like I do. That's why I do combo. Combo puts you, literally, I did combo last week with Edward, and I could not even finish the ceremony. He put 3 points on me, and I tapped out. And I've done combo 5 times. So it's not like it's not like I didn't know what I was getting myself into, but this situation, I was fasting for Ramadan, this particular combo session wrecked me. And I was shitting on the toilet, and then I said, take the medicine off me. I had laid on the floor, submitted. God, tap, tap, tap. I'm out. That to me, I do that regularly because I need to be humbled. I go out of my way to humble myself. In jiu-jitsu, I have little guys fucking choke me the fuck out. By the way, Dylan got choked out twice the other day by me. If I get you in a guillotine, bro, if I get into a fight with somebody, I'm gonna snatch somebody up. I don't want to fight anybody, but not like, I love violence. I've always been a violent person, and for 7 years I haven't had an outlet to be violent, and now I can go be violent in such a humble way. Because Matt, you're wrestling, but you don't want to hurt anybody. You know what I mean? You're not trying to, these are people you train with. These are your friends. They're teaching you for the first hour and a half of class. This person is teaching you drills. You know what I mean? Like, okay, wrap your leg around here, and then, tuck your head here. And like walking you through it. So when it's time to roll, you don't want to like hurt them. You know what I mean? You don't want to hurt them, but you want to be competitive. So you get to be violent in a humble way. which is nice, which is nice. But it's all about humility. It's about humility. It's coming into a place and bow at the mat, bow, and ready to go, ready to learn. Be a beginner.
This shit all the time, but it's definitely very inspirational and it gives me hope because nobody else out here except for Dylan knows who you were. You know what I'm saying?
Speak about that really quick because I talk about it on the podcast.
Yeah,
but
nobody knows.
They don't know.
They don't know the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde because right now he is a very reformed Eric, and he was never like that from what I know. Selling drugs, doing drugs, womanizing, absolute savage in the street, meaning wouldn't hesitate to knock you clean out, which I used to love. Just no fear, or probably better way to put it is just completely reckless. Reckless.
I was reckless.
No care, concern for anybody or repercussions for actions. And you weren't the only one. We were all like that.
We were all like that.
But you stuck out more because of
being a
big black kid in a particularly white neighborhood.
Yeah.
So but I loved you for it.
Yeah.
I loved you for it, and I never thought of you anything different from me or from anybody that we hang out with.
Matt, if you could change to some lo-fi, this is too much going on. But keep going.
But yeah.
Shout out to Matt.
I don't know. I feel like the minute because we ended up meeting each other through mutual friends, but the minute we met each other, I feel like we had an instant connection.
Yeah.
It was just like, I don't know whether it was our same sense of humor, probably that. I feel like I was a little reckless too, and you saw that, so you kind of took me under the wing a little bit.
Hold on one second, Matt. I don't know what we need to find. Look up popular hip hop instrumentals. And just it's okay. Yeah, we can do it right now. Yeah, I'm gonna go.
Doesn't matter. This is all gonna
We'll
get
do it
cut.
live. Fucking we'll do it live.
This is all gonna get chopped up anyway. Right?
No, we don't edit any of this.
Oh, we don't edit anything.
No, so it's
right, that's what's up.
We don't edit any of this. So what you say is going to be on the podcast.
All right, cool.
But we got
Keep that in
along.
mind.
We got along really early.
Yeah, swimmingly. But like, I don't know what it was that made us click so well. Maybe it's because I don't know. Maybe it's because you felt like you didn't fit in so well, and I didn't fit in so well.
Yeah.
And so we were like, "Fuck it, let's just not fit in together."
Yeah.
And if anybody's got a problem with it, we'll just beat the dog shit out of them. It's because they don't rep New York. They rep Brooklyn.
Yeah.
So it's like they're Brooklyn.
Yeah. Brooklyn's on its own team.
It's kind of like how Staten Island isn't really part of New York.
Yeah.
It's like a fake borough.
Dirt.
Yeah, super.
A lot of black nasties. Explain what black nasties are.
Okay, so for anybody who doesn't know what the black nasties are, they are just low top or high top black Air Force Ones. And if you see a motherfucker wearing either one of those, beware, that's a very dangerous person.